OverDrive off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Brian Hazio, Doug Jeff O'Neill, and there's Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. How's everyone doing this afternoon?
I'd be good well, it'd be better if I didn't get the hate mail from people from Pittsburgh because of your boneheadedness yesterday.
Yeah, it's my fault. It's my fault.
Dude,
that I drove home.
Feschuk, this guy says yesterday, I've got an idea. Why does Crosby have to go to Colorado? Why can't he come to Toronto? And you can just imagine. Hang on a sec, Dave. You're nodding your head. Do you think it's a possibility?
No, I'm saying, trust me, Doug, you're explaining to me what happened on OverDrive yesterday. It was a shot heard around the world. I mean, this had reverberations beyond Toronto, Pittsburgh. This was the hockey world shook. Well, those words were spoken.
Listen, if I got to break down my case again, I will happily do it. And I understand before we can even make the case, it begins with Sid is not going to leave. He's not going to waive. I don't think Dubas would do business with the Leafs. I don't think he would. I think he should, but I don't think he would.
Those days are over. Those days are over.
Are they? Are they? Did Brad Treliving? He couldn't trade for Chris Tanev. Couldn't get him because apparently Treliving and the Flames they don't get along anymore.
Maybe sometimes the owner might step in and say, "Don't even think about doing a transaction that could benefit." I don't know. But it just seems like that the idea of they won't do business with that particular. I think.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right, and I don't believe it should apply. So, but I think there's a percentage chance. What the Jerry's would be on that? Maybe it's 10%, but I don't think it's 0% that Dubas wouldn't be overly keen to help the Maple Leafs out. Right?
He always wanted to send the Leafs deep into a playoff run. This is his chance.
That would be his chance at doing that. I'd be willing to throw Kyle's name on the cup if it ever got to that point.
Exactly.
I'd be willing to throw that out. Give him a ring. Give him whatever you need to. And the last part of this is the complication with money, with assets and all that. That makes it very complicated. That's the one side of it, the negative side, that now all of a sudden, yesterday you're on my side. Very disappointing to hear you bring this up.
No, dude, I've always
couldn't wait to engage in this yesterday.
I was so horned up and engaged, but I did not know that once I took my headpiece off, the tweets would start, and it's just like, can you guys please cut the crap? And then I kind of like Scrooge you, and I said, this was not my idea.
Of course he did.
I was on board with the idea, but this was not my idea.
I own this. I will be the first one to admit it. I was on Jay's show probably this time last year, and I got out in front of this and said, get Sid out of Pittsburgh.
Yes.
I was absolutely adamant about that.
But you threw the nugget on the end of it this time.
Now it's the Leafs, but let me flip it over. And I hear what you're saying because we posted the clip on YouTube, and it was like, Crosby to the Leafs, and it just exploded. There's Joe from the Bridge posting his own idea of what the trade could look like. That's totally unnecessary for Joe from the Bridge to promote his own Twitter account.
Joe from the Bridge comes off the top turnbuckle with trade proposals that are so preposterous. Dude, there was a guy that wrote it. I just saw somebody. The tweet was, "Here, thanks to you guys, here we go." And some guy wrote a piece that said, "Here's why Sid to Toronto makes sense."
I know, and that's I had those links sent to me. And again, we posted it on YouTube, and there's you can find all our stuff on YouTube now, podcast, on social. Doogie posted on Twitter, Instagram, thousands, it felt like, of comments being like this, that, or the other. All of this is understood that it's very likely not going to happen. But, Dave, you're a sensible guy. I thought O was, but now he's turning on me. That's disappointing, but that's fine.
Hang on a sec. I want to talk to Feschuk. Dave, we are the idiots that say stupid stuff like this. But you're like tied into inside people. You know stuff that no one else knows. Do you think Sid's actually going to play out his term in Pitt, going out like that?
I've always felt he would. And the point I would make, though, would be this is not going to be about whether Kyle Dubas wants to do business with the Toronto Maple Leafs or any other team. This is going to be, if Sidney Crosby wants to come to Toronto, Sidney Crosby will find a way to get to Toronto along with Pat Brisson, one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful agents in the business. They'll find a way to get here, okay, if that's what he wants. I've always felt he'd want to stay a lifelong Penguin. He's given every indication of that throughout his career. But it's getting so ugly there, O-Dog. I'm starting to have some second thoughts.
And I think that point's a very important one, and it completely buries my Dubas-Shanahan relation conversation because you're absolutely right. Crosby will drive all of it, and Dubas won't have a say in it. Dubas will have a say in what they get, but this will go above Dubas. This will be ownership saying, show respect to this guy. He's had enough. It sucks for us. He wants to go here. Find a way to make that work.
Yeah, but they're not just going to sit and get
They're not going to give it to him for free.
Well,
but it has happened this way before with a guy who has a full no trade and a full no movement clause. Again, I don't know if Pittsburgh's ownership would want Sid not there because he's such an important piece and what he represents and sells tickets and jerseys and he's an ambassador for the team. If I'm Dubas, I want Sid to demand out. I am dying for that if I'm Kyle Dubas because then I can move off Sullivan, I move off Sid, I move off Gino, I move off Letang, I move off Carlson, I rip the Band-Aid off and I say, give me 5 years. I'm begging for that if I'm Dubas.
Yeah.
Begging for him to walk in and say, please trade me. But I don't know if it's going to happen. But the argument I made yesterday was more about if it got to a point where Sid's like, I want out and I want to go somewhere, the Leafs should be on that list in terms of them calling, saying, we want to make this work.
Oh, yeah.
Because the flip side of it is Sid should want out. Dubas knows the organization upside down. So does Spezza. So does Wes Clark. And the Leafs need a centerman. Like, I think they could use help up the middle of the ice. I think their defense is pretty set. Their goaltending's been outstanding. I don't think they're going to attack those two positions. They'll get depth at the trade deadline, but I don't think they're going to attack their top four. They're set there. Their two goalies are going to be their two goalies. They have a lot of depth and skill and size on the wing. It's up the middle of the ice. That's where you're going to attack it. And that's where, again, I'm just checking boxes here for why it would make sense if hypothetically it ever got there.
But
and I beg you to challenge me on that.
I'll challenge you right now. When Noodles said yesterday, you're taking Christian Jarry, you're getting rid of Wall, Nyes, Easton Cowan, and a first-round pick. That's where the conversation ends.
Not if Festchuk's point is valid. If Sid goes, I want to go here. I don't know if he's going to come here. And again, you talk about comments, and I got to own this one, and everyone in Toronto has to own this. It's kind of on a platter for you. If he wants to go somewhere to win, he's probably not going to Toronto. Because of their history.
Right.
I saw all your tweets. I got them. I got them in Montreal, Ottawa, Vancouver.
Oh, you got that one? Maybe he wants to go somewhere that's going to win.
Exactly. I saw it. Well played. Very good comment. I got to give you credit. I get it. The Leafs haven't won in 50-plus years.
Right.
I understand that. But if he drives anything and he's like, this is where I want to go, Canadian kid, not coming home. He's from Nova Scotia, but they don't have a team there. I knew he grew up a Hab fan, but he's not going to the Habs, and the Habs wouldn't entertain that. They're not in that position. There's like 5 to 6 teams that would be in a window that would make sense, and I think the Leafs would be one of those.
Yes,
that's all I'm saying, and that's what I'm trying to drive that into existence. That's what I want to see. Be a great Christmas.
Oh,
give me a great Christmas, Fez. Why can't we have that? Why can't Sid be out there at number 87? Bombing around on a Saturday night.
I mean,
why can't that happen?
It would be perfect.
Thank you.
It would be.
There you go.
But the question is, guys, and O-Dog, I wonder how you see this, because the closest reasonable facsimile to a Stanley Cup pedigreed centerman that they've had come here, they've been able to get here, is Ryan O'Reilly, right? And I'm not comparing him to Sidney Crosby. All I'm saying is he plays center. He'd won a Stanley Cup. He'd been a team captain. He had leadership qualities. Bona fide winner. He didn't want to resign here, which says something.
Yeah.
Right? He may be on the list of guys you might want to use or you might want to target as you attempt to do what Brian, I think, rightly says, fill out your center depth. You're going to need more center depth to win in the playoffs, in my opinion here. O'Reilly be on that list, but the question is, he already said no to coming back here once.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, is the question. Like, is this an attractive place for that kind of a guy to come anymore, given the litany of failure?
Yeah, but if it was a guy like Sid Fest, he's got, what has he got this year and 2 years left? I don't think it would be like this massive commitment where like long term, I don't know. I by the way, if you're talking about the idea of circling back on Ryan O'Reilly, I'm not doing that either. I don't think he played particularly well when he got here.
Well, he was hurt.
He had some clutch moments in that Tampa game. He definitely he broke his hand almost right when he got here, his finger. I remember he took that Hedman shot off the foot, and I think he was in a pretty bad place the rest of that series against Tampa and Florida.
But they won a series.
Yeah, Nashville, they did. They did. I mean, listen, this is what happens here.
That was a sad statement, guys. They won a series.
They won a series, and O'Reilly represents that.
Yeah.
Nazem Kadri's, have we forgot what happened with Nas when he was playing for the Leafs in the playoffs? Like, his reputation, let's call it what it is, as a playoff performer for the Leafs, is a guy that gets suspended.
Right.
Like, that's ultimately it.
He lost series.
He factored in greatly.
Dude, I was shocked when sitting on a panel with Bob McKenzie in the second suspension. Bob said to me, wouldn't shock me if that's his way out, like he's on his way out of town after that one. And I said, excuse me? I said, as if they're going to do that. He's the only guy that plays with some jam. He goes, Jeff, trust me, I wouldn't be shocked if he's on his way out after that one. And sure as hell, that guy was gone in the summertime. I was stunned. I was shocked.
Well,
I don't know.
That's an interesting one because I just had a long talk with Nas on his book tour, and he talks about that. He really saw that as he was Lou's guy, and once Lou left the building, he wasn't Dubas's guy, and so the suspensions added up, and Dubas said, "See you later." It's addition by subtraction.
Yeah. Well, and Tavares was around. There were some complications with the cap as well, right? Like Willie was going to be paid. Austin.
He was on a long-term deal at $4 million. He was not a problem.
They saved $1 million in the trade, right, to the Avalanche.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, but again, it was there are not to defend it because it was an awful trade. I mean, there's no way of
one of the worst in a long time.
For them, I'm not sure it's in the top 5, but it's an awful trade. Like their history, the Leafs' history, I don't know. It would be, you could make an argument. Certainly in modern history, it's in the top 5.
Maybe give me that on your list on Thursday, the worst trades in Leafs history.
You want me to go there? I've been so positive lately.
They're 7-1 in their last 8, Doug.
But it's just something I know that you would take pride in. You would love doing the research.
Dude, I'd have a
And by the way, it's an hour segment, and it's the top 10 worst trades, and I'll be all in because I think you'll get fan engagement, you'll get hate listening, hate watching, and I'll be along for the ride. I will gasp, I will cry, I will slam my fists on this desk. I'll be a part for the ride. It's an hour-long segment Thursday, the worst trades in franchise history.
They're running through my mind right now, and it's putting me in just a horrible place. Because that's the sad reality of every Leaf fan.
Dude, I'll come off the top turnbuckle with a little nugget, like Russ Courtnall for John Kordick.
Ooh.
Why would you trade Russ Courtnall for John Kordick?
That one's, again, probably not in the top 10. The reality is that's an
Pardon me?
That's not in the top 10. I could run off 10 without even doing homework.
Yeah.
That you'd start throwing up by the end. And then you just spontaneously combust and say, you're right, Kordick for Courtnall is honorable mention. Honorable mention. That's not in the top 10. And
we're dedicating an hour on Thursday. I'm sorry. That's what we're doing, and we're going to go through it together, and it'll be like an exorcism. We're going to get rid of the demons, and once it's over, we're moving on to new pastures.
I like that idea.
We're going to get Sid.
But because it's Thanksgiving in the States, we're thankful it's behind us.
There you go.
Thankful it's behind
us.
And we're thankful that we're moving forward, and Sid's going to be a part of that process.
No,
one of the best trades
that
in Leafs
these
history.
things are never happening again.
We're thankful these are never happening again. Yeah, I listen, man. It's a rite of passage to be a Leaf fan. This is the kind of stuff that needs to be addressed when you start asking, when people start thinking, I wish I was this fan, or I jumped off the bandwagon. It's a community, and ultimately, in a lot of ways, it's a community where you seek empathy and solace in the fact that you've been through it, and you're here, and you realize that the payoff will be greater than anything any other fan base could ever experience, because the Red Sox had theirs and the Cubs had theirs, and maybe the Bills get there. The Bills would be in a similar kind of situation. The Lions would certainly be.
Oh, yeah.
A couple of teams in the NFL right now that are like, hold my beer, I got you. And the Leafs are a really good team right now. Like the Leafs are doing in a similar way to what the Bills would be doing, or the Lions, not quite to the same extent, but off to a great start. But yeah, I mean, so many different moves over the years where it's like, I can't believe they did that.
Well, you look, like the Tat Man can't even enjoy what the Lions are doing because he's too scarred. Like I was talking to him the other day. I'm like, are you happy? Like they're reeling off records they haven't had since 1934, and the Tat Man can't enjoy it, Dog.
You're guarded.
Because he's just like, I've seen this movie before.
Yeah.
We never win. It never ends with us hoisting the trophy.
It's sickening.
He's setting himself up for that. That's what you're doing. You set yourself up for disaster. Like we had a fan base down the street that were chanting, "We want Florida," and they got Florida, and they got dummied. Like that's the type of business that we're talking about. We want Florida. Okay, you got them, and you got dummied.
That could be a trade. Florida for Boston.
There you go.
We thought, what a win that was. I remember watching that game overtime. I think it was. Wasn't it Reinhardt or Verhaeghe that scored an OT? In Boston and thinking, wow, the Leafs, you got Florida. Like, good for them. They played really well. They battled back, but what a setup. You avoided Boston. Boston historically great that year.
I said for 6 straight years, I'm like, you got to get in. You never know. There's an upset in the first round, and a path could look completely different, and your eyeballs could be bulging like dinner plates. And that happened, and they got dummied. We want Florida and got dummied.
We want Florida. What a trade. Dummied. Speaking of Florida, they're probably flying down there right now. They're playing the Panthers tomorrow night. Matthews returned to practice. He's not playing tomorrow. Like, based on what he said after the game, where he said, might need one more for the legs and the lungs, that would suggest he's got Saturday circled in Tampa. But he'll be on the trip. He's going to be down there. And he practiced today, and he was not on a line with Mitch Marner, which I think a lot of people found intriguing. He was with Willie, but he looked good, like full participant. It was a full practice. I wouldn't anticipate he plays tomorrow, but he's obviously close enough where he's taking full line rushes. What I think is notable is Max Domi. Look at that shot by Willie. I can't believe they just showed that. Willie with a complete muffin. Max Domi's still not skating, and he's not even taking the trip.
No,
he's not even going to Florida.
Neither.
Yeah, and neither is David Camp. Like, those two, it sounded, were more day-to-day than anything else. So there's another example with the Leafs.
Day-to-day.
Day-to-day means nothing. When they say day-to-day, just don't even report it.
Could be a career-ending injury. Could be tomorrow.
We may never see the guy play again.
Yeah.
Somewhere between an hour from now, and you'll never see him again.
When he does come back, though, I would not put him together with Mitch Marner.
Me neither.
I would put him with William Nylander and Matthew Nyes, and just say, Mitch, you guys aren't playing together. Like, you've been so good with John Tavares. You've driven the line. You're the main guy on the line. John's played his best hockey in a couple years, has he not?
Yeah, he's been very good.
He's been very good. So it's like, you guys keep driving the bus and don't worry about what anybody else is doing. Just keep doing what you're doing. That would be my message, man.
And I think it's more of a compliment to Marner. I think it's more.
Of course it is.
It's let Matthews try to figure his way out. We're not messing with you, man, because you have such a good thing going. And I think it speaks to Willie as well. Like, Nylander's been putting up numbers with, like, Pontus Holmberg and, his brother's out there getting shifts. Like, nothing phases him.
He just goes out and does it.
Yes, he is going to perform and play well. And he will obviously perform and play well with Matthews. And historically, their metrics have actually been very strong. Like, if, you look into different stuff in terms of puck possession and expected this, expected that. Willie and Austin have always connected pretty well. But I think it's more about looking at Mitch and saying, you're the guy, man. This is how good you've been. Let Matthews catch up. But we're not messing with you and what you're all about right now.
Well, I think that's 100% correct. And I've had people come up to me during Matthews' day-to-day absence that stretched on for close to a month and say to me, oh, they're better without Matthews. And I'm like, okay, calm down. No team is better without a guy that can score 69 goals. But I'll tell you this, they're different without Matthews. And Marner is different without Matthews to me because he doesn't defer to Matthews if he doesn't have the option to. And when he does have the option to, he does defer. He passes more than he shoots. What's he doing without Matthews out there? He's scoring goals. He's a shot threat. He's doing things he doesn't do as often when Matthews is out there with that peerless shot, O-Dog. And I think you're right. I think that's exactly why Berube would be smart to separate them for a while and see if you can sort of maximize them both instead of letting sort of Mitch maximize Austin.
And the other thing I would leave with that lineup that's posted on television right now, down the middle, John Tavares, Austin Matthew, Fraser Minton would be staying there for, I don't know, a little bit anyway. I don't know how Nick Robertson creeped up into that third-line left winger spot, but he did. But as far as the centerman, I think Fraser Minton could just marinate a little bit in that position and just see where it goes.
Yeah, I think he's the one that has the best chance to actually be a player for this team post-trade deadline. and into the playoffs. And you don't have to have that answer right now. That doesn't mean if they send him down in a week, he's there for the whole year.
That could be some type of internal transaction where it's like that guy becomes the third-line centerman.
Yes.
And I don't mind it, to be honest with you.
I agree with you. I mean, for me, Max Domi has to play on the wing. When the going gets tough, Max has to play on the wing for me. I think he's better suited there. I think he's more effective there. I think up the middle of the ice, he can get lost defensively. He can get pushed out of some plays. He battles hard. But I think he's more effective on the wing. And I think by the end of the year, you're going to get there. And, everything else is going to come and go. We know Nyes, if he's healthy, is going to play. McMahon, if he's healthy and playing the way he's been playing recently, is going to play. Marner, Nylander. We know the guys that are going to play. But of the ones that are battling for position, like the Robertsons, like the Holmbergs, maybe Steves, maybe Reeves, maybe Yarncroke if and when he returns, I think Fraser Minton's got a real opportunity to continue to show to the coach, I can play and I can actually be a guy that you can use. Mm-hmm. And this is a big trip for a young guy. And he's 20. He marinated in the WHL. He went back there for a couple of years post-draft. Mm-hmm. He played for the juniors. Last year, he got a little taste of the NHL. Then I think he finished the year with the Marlies. This year, we know that he was with the Marlies. He'll be 21 in June or July.
Yeah.
He's not 18. There is a difference between 20 and mature and 18 and immature.
And he's strong.
And he's a bigger, stronger kid that I think is more you're going to see. I don't think he's going to develop into something like some superstar in 5 years. I think he's closer to where he is. But I also think his floor is higher, if that makes sense. I don't know if his ceiling is through the roof, but I think his floor, he's almost at it, and it's a good floor in the NHL for a player of his status and who he is and what he can do. So if Berube can believe in you and trust you, this is an opportunity because you're going into Florida on the road, into Tampa on the road. He's playing these 2 games. And if Fraser Minton can walk out of this week sending a positive message to Craig Berube, that could be a real game changer for him come March and April.
He's got a checklist himself. You'd mentioned the coach and trust. He's got to be able to do that. He's got to be able to handle the physicality. He's got to be able to keep up with the pace. And you know what he's got to do? He can't just be a guy out there. He's got to produce a little bit. He's got to, you think of a third-line centerman, you're just not going up and down the ice killing time. You got to contribute. Find a way to contribute.
Tell that to Nick Robertson, right? He's.
That's why I said, David. I was I was somewhat shocked to see him on that on where he was on that because
and
I would put Grabenkin there or some of the other kids there because there's just no production.
Well, here's my thing with I've been talking to a bunch of hockey people about player development lately for some stuff I've been working on, and one of the things that keeps coming up is
player development for what, professionals?
Yeah, and just kind of what separates guys, right? And because there's so much money put into player development now, and you guys are skating every day. Everybody's doing all the same stuff, and yet there's only so many good players, right? And what separates the good, the good guys that can play in the NHL and the guys that can actually thrive and dominate in the NHL. And the thing that separates them is a hard thing to teach. It's called IQ, hockey IQ, right?
Yeah.
Hockey
and
sense.
There's also this thing where it's just simply a gift from God, the ability to score a goal.
Right.
I wasn't Mike Bossy, but in my 5 or 6 years of good playing in the league, I could score a goal. And there were some guys that had mega skill from Europe, and you look at them in practice, you're like, that guy's so much better than me skill-wise. But get him in front of the net, open net, or odd man, they don't score. It's just something that guys can skate and handle the puck, but you get them around. It's just a little intangible. I don't know. It's you either got it or you don't. The ability to score a goal.
Well,
That's
I
right.
think Nick Robertson's got the ability to score. He's got a great shot.
Yeah, but I don't know if it's at this level. In the American Hockey League, he'd be leading the American Hockey League in goal scoring right now.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty good year last year, right? In the NHL.
Yeah, you know what? He did. I can't argue that.
But I just wonder sometimes about the IQ, right? And I think coaches, the patience wears thin if the IQ is not there. And he works hard. He does. I'm not saying he doesn't work hard, but there's working hard and working smart, and he's got to figure out the difference.
Yeah, well, and that's why a lot of the numbers in the game need context. Not every shot is equal. Ryan. I don't need to name names. Guy on the fourth line from the slot is not the same as Austin Matthews from the slot.
Right.
It counts the same on your spreadsheet, but it's not the same. And that's shooting percentage, a lot of that kind of stuff. There's just no context to it. Slot shots. Well, who had them?
Yeah,
it's different. I'll take 4 slot shots from Matthews over 10 from some guy who has no idea what he's doing.
There's a great example, like Austin Matthews, the best shooting goal scorer in the world. Some of the shots he takes, you look at it and you're like, how'd that go in? Like, that wasn't that great of a shot, but they find the back of the net.
Yeah.
Like, even some of his little one-timer wobblers from last year, like, they just go in the back of the net. Where you could get another guy, Nick Robertson, just hammering, like, from the forward tees in the slot, and they wouldn't find their way in the back of the net.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something, it's a weird phenomena to explain, but it's a gift from God where some guys can make it go in the back of the net and other guys can't.
Yep, it goes a long way in making a career, making and breaking a career. All right, Mike Johnson coming up today. Pierre LeBrun, we got Confirm or Deny coming up as well. We're going to do that this hour. We'll probably sprinkle it in throughout the afternoon. Jack coming up too, big one for the Bills this weekend. Right, we always talk football with Jack, but we have to. The Bills are such a positive story. And if you're pro-tanking by the Raptors, very positive 48 hours. Very positive.
They lost to the Pistons again.
Again, but that's why win now? Like, ultimately, you've gone this deep now. We're almost into December. They've almost
but
played
what's
20
the nugget
games.
at the end of the line? What's the nugget at the end of the
balls.
rainbow?
Lottery balls.
What player? Like, if
Tag
you say
for Flag, baby.
Yeah.
Cooper Flag.
Cooper Flag's your guy. Oh, Cooper Flag is your guy.
In the pooper for Cooper.
Is that what people are calling it? That's going to be it.
Wow.
I like that one. I can get down with that.
Yeah, you can.
I can get down with that.
Yeah, you can.
All right, so Jack coming up later this afternoon as well. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
I can neither confirm or deny that this is in fact a segment.
Austin trades Andrew Raycroft to Toronto in exchange for the rights to Tuukka Rask.
It's been my honor and a privilege to serve as the general manager of the Toronto Maple Leafs Hockey Club.
It's time for Confirm or Deny.
Do you regret giving all those gentlemen the no trades or no movement clauses?
I can neither confirm or deny that.
I can't confirm or deny.
All right, confirm or deny. We heard Fergie in there trading Tuukka Rask for your boy Andrew Raycroft. And unfortunately, you're just going to have to chew on it. That's probably going to be in the top 5 in terms of bad trades. But it's also a sign of how, like, young Leaf fans just have no idea. Because, and here I know I'm getting older because I'm doing this. I did it with Vince. Like, Vince was an example where I'm talking to people 20, 22, 25, and it's like, I'm like, you have no idea. I'm sorry, but you weren't here when Vince arrived and when he left.
Exactly.
You don't remember exactly what was going on. You don't. And it's the same thing with the Leafs, where that was not a good trade, but that was not the worst Leaf trade of all time.
No.
Not even close. I think it's in the top 5. I'm pretty sure it's in the top 5.
Not the best.
Not the best, but it's not number 1. Not number 1.
Not the worst.
Not the worst. Not the worst. Not the worst. All right, confirm or deny. Statements are made. We go around the table. We confirm them or we deny them. Starting with this one. Confirm or deny, Joseph Woll has done enough to regain 1A status in net, pushing Anthony Stolarz to 1B.
Dude, no way in hell. You're crazy for even stating that on this show, because I don't forget the injuries. I don't forget Game 7. I don't forget the start of the year. And I also have it in the back of my head that might be and could be around the corner. I don't trust it. I do not trust it like something else people say you can never trust. I'm not trusting it. But I love what I'm seeing. The guy looks really good. But my brain goes in 2 different directions when I'm watching him. I'm like, this is really impressive. And the other side of my brain says, when is it going to come? When is the bad goal going to come, or when is he going to get hurt? It's just like we talked about sports teams that you can't trust. You know what's around the corner. I feel kind of the same with him. As much as I look at him in net, I'm like, God, you look like a strud muffin.
Yeah.
I get a little bit concerned.
Okay.
I'm with you, dog. This is a major, major denial for me. Like, it's not even close right now to me. Like, Stolarz has just emerged as, you talk about strud muffins. He's a strud muffin. I mean, the guy's huge. He looks so solid. He's leading the NHL in save percentage last time I checked in terms of people that have started more than 10 games. Mm-hmm. He's up there in goals saved above expectation. And the only thing that concerns me with Stolarz, and I do think Joseph Woll is going to have to be a very close 1B, is because Stolarz is on pace for 47 starts, which is almost double his career high.
Well, and that's why I think they just gave him a week and a half off.
Yeah.
And I assume he'll play tomorrow. He should play tomorrow. You got to get him back in, and it's his former team. He's got to play tomorrow.
He's getting his ring tomorrow.
He's getting his ring tomorrow. There you go. I will deny it as well, but not as aggressively as you two are. And I don't forget either. I understand what happened at the start of the year, but I also remember what happened prior to that, which was Joseph Woll was starting opening night. He was 1A. Now, Stolarz has also taken it. It's not only Woll's injury issues and the lack of trust there. Stolarz has been phenomenal, the stats you just issued. Joseph Woll's right behind him statistically. He has a .922 save percentage, I believe. He's right behind him. He has not been he's been great, and he's been better recently. And I believe the Leafs look at him as a guy that they think has a higher ceiling. Like, you need a big save. Woll is more likely to give it to you over time than Stolarz. But
maybe
right now,
Stolarz is the guy, Hazy, that takes him kind of. Stolarz can help take him on the journey to get to where everybody wants him to be, as opposed to just handing them the keys. And how many times have we seen guys sink and swim and they're just a mess?
Yep.
I almost think that Stolarz could attach himself to Woll and take him where he needs to be as a tandem, and it might be fantastic for all parties involved.
It might be. You also might run into a scenario this is miles down the road, but like the Bruins ended up in last year, where they had to make a commitment before the series even started. We're going Swayman, then Ullmark, Swayman, then Ullmark. Then eventually they jumped off and said, Swayman, it's your net. That will be a wild story in Toronto if that happens. If they're both playing well, they're both healthy, who gets the start game one? And if they win it, if they were to win game one, the idea of them going to the other guy for game two, people would go nuts in this town because they're not comfortable in winning. Leaf fans would be like, wait a minute, you actually won game one and you're going to the other guy? Because you made a commitment beforehand? Credit Jim Montgomery and the Bruins. They did that and they stuck to it. Eventually, they deviated because they knew they had to.
They may have regretted it.
And in the end, we know what happened. Confirm or deny, Macklin Celebrini has a legit chance to be a better player than Connor Bedard. This kid has been so good. You see him again last night?
Yeah.
That one goal he had, he went shelf last night. It was brilliant.
Yeah, he might be like a Jonathan Toews type of guy where it might not be all the flash and dash. Very skilled. I think he's a really competitive kid. What is the confirmer? Is it a better player?
Yeah, he has a legit chance to be a better player than Connor Bedard, which was blasphemy 4 months ago.
I think it's an outrageous idea to even pose this question. I think it's a slap in the face to Connor Bedard, but you know what? I'm going to confirm it.
Look at you slapping.
I'll slap you around too.
Smacking
with
Bedard around.
This is a total kick in the pills. But I'm going to confirm it because it's recency bias, and one guy is on the way up, and the other guy's at a pass right now.
You could also spin it as a compliment to Celebrini.
Yes,
that's the positive glass half full way of looking at it.
Yeah, because on the way into the draft, everyone was like, "This guy's no Bedard, he's no McDavid." Now maybe he is.
He looks really good, man. Really good.
I'm going to confirm it only because I'm not putting ceilings on guys that are 18 years old.
Mm-hmm.
They clearly have a work ethic. They're clearly been whose stock has been rising, as Macklin Celebrini's stock has been throughout his teens, and who clearly shows an incredible aptitude for the big moment already. Even though he's playing in a not such a big market where the games don't mean too much. But I'm going to also say this: wait a year or two until you've played on a bad team. And you're going through the 82-game grind, and your team's terrible, and we'll see what kind of enthusiasm you got then. Because I think Bedard's hitting that wall right now, where you realize you're not surrounded by a bunch of all-stars, and it's tough sledding every night.
So unlike you, I'm not a prisoner of the moment, right? I'm very even-keeled. I try to bring things to the table, like Sid to the Leafs, which I think is very reasonable and objective. I'm not going to fall under the umbrella of Line A is better than Matthews, which I think is happening here with Celebrini and Bedard. I am denying this. Connor Bedard is not in a great place. He will get to a great place. He is far too good not to.
I love
Celebrini,
how you sucked us into take the bait, and then you on the back end go,
I come right over
that's
the top.
a sewer job.
Right over the top with the Line A Matthews.
That's not what we were saying, by the way.
No, I
You're
understand
now
that.
We're not
Gary
saying
Lawless
he's better.
Hayes. Gary Lawless Hayes.
I'm turning you two into Gary. That's what I'm
right.
doing here. Oh, really? You think Celebrini's better than Bedard now? Okay, interesting. Let
He
me
has
come
a
over the top.
chance. He has a chance.
Celebrini's really good. He's and first overall talent. He looks amazing. If you're in San Jose, you're ecstatic. And I understand they're concerned a little bit in Chicago because they're losing. Bedard's not scoring. Bedard's getting caved in. It's not good. I still have a lot of faith in that kid. I watched him at the World Juniors. I really placed eyes on him, and he looked good. Oh, you were there. You saw it live. But this guy, what he did in junior, I think even what he did at times last year, part of the injury, I think he's too good not to pop. I think Bedard is going to pop. I think he at some point in his career will be known as the best player in the game. I think he wins hearts. Question is, does Celebrini do that too? Like it's interesting how the generations are moving on here, right? Like Sid and Ovi are moving. They're going. They're still around, but they're going. And then it's like McDavid and McKinnon and Matthews. Those guys are in their late 20s.
Yeah.
They're like 3 or 4 years away from kind of you move, and then the next wave's coming in. And I think these guys are going to be the face of it. But I'm not willing to go there yet against my guy, Connor Bedard. I won't do that.
Sewer job.
Confirm or deny, 5 Canadian teams will make the playoffs.
Okay.
Do the math.
Math here.
Do the math.
Well, not Ottawa. So take
You're out on Ottawa. They won last night. They won last night.
I don't see it, man.
I don't see it either. But
Not Montreal.
not Montreal. But what about the other 5?
The other 5.
The other 5 are in right now.
Okay. So
Leafs, Winnipeg,
Leafs.
Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver.
So really, we're asking if Calgary and Vancouver are going to make it.
I think
I'm
so.
gonna deny this one, guys. I think I'd love to be all positive and all on board with the Canadian teams. I just think there might be a hiccup or a slip into the new year that might cost the team the playoffs. I hate projecting things like that, but to think it's all going to be roses for everyone, I just don't see it happening. I'm going to deny it. I think one team, and I really couldn't pinpoint which team it is. It's maybe Calgary or Vancouver, but that's kind of the reality I see.
Well,
Vancouver needs to get a goalie in that net pretty soon.
Well, he's in Boston. They're playing tonight. He's not like Demko's not playing, but he's looking good in practice. Like it's every day you see updates from people that cover the team. They're like, yeah, it looks pretty good to me. I don't know, post to post, and
That's been the craziest player update I've ever seen for a long stretch.
yeah.
He's looking good to practice with his teammates soon, and that went on for months. And I don't know.
Now he's doing it, and it doesn't mean anything. Like Matthews, we said, he's like, I need another practice or two with the guys to get going. He's playing on Saturday, unless there's some massive setback. Demko went from I'm on my own to I'll be around the guys to I'm going to practice with the guys, and he's been practicing for like 10 days.
yeah.
And he's still in a position where he's not playing. And, you know, we're well into the year. Like Vancouver plays their 20th game tonight,
Yeah.
and Demko's still MIA at this point.
You know what? This is American Thanksgiving traditionally is that moment where if you're in it in American Thanksgiving, you got a really good chance of being in when all is said and done, right? So right now, you got four of those teams are in.
Yes, Vancouver's
And
technically
Vancouver's
not in. They're a point out
back.
with games in hand.
Question for me is, you know, Vancouver's going to have to eat Calgary's lunch here, right? Like they're in the same race, essentially. Who's Vancouver going to pass that's ahead of them right now? LA looks pretty good, man.
Yeah,
They
Vegas
made a
is
big
getting
jump.
in. Edmonton
Vegas
will
is
figure
getting
it out.
in. Edmonton, you know, is going to figure it out. Colorado,
It's
I can't see
Calgary.
them going backwards.
Yeah, it feels like it's Calgary, Vancouver fighting it out. Who's going to show that they're legit?
Tough to say Calgary's going to take a step back, man. I know they got beat last night, but they got good mojo. They're doing good things. It could all kind of the house of cards may fall down, but
And if it does,
They got a
the
good
Leafs,
team.
the Leafs could trade for Kadri.
Yes, they
Yeah,
could.
yeah.
They could.
like they had a brutal night last night. It took a zillion penalties, and they still almost got back into that hockey game at 4-3.
Ottawa. I was thinking, tell me they're going to find a way to throw this game away.
Dude,
Game close.
Yeah, it did. But I'm going to deny this as well. I can't see 5. I think Toronto's getting in, Winnipeg's getting in, Edmonton's getting in, and then one of the other two will get in. I believe. I still think Vancouver will probably find a way to do that. I think they're a good team, but they're dealing with a lot of controversy now. like a lot of distractions and things that you can't necessarily control. When Demko's coming back, JT Miller's not with them. They're on a long trip. He's not on the trip.
Yeah.
They don't know when he's going to play again.
Mental health reset.
Yeah, and he's resetting, and that's he's entitled to that. But the games go on.
Doesn't help your team.
Yeah, the games are going to continue, and ultimately you got to find a way to rack up points. And the tough spot for Vancouver right now. All right, this is what we got into a little bit earlier this hour. Confirm or deny Lamar Jackson will win the MVP. Lamar for the MVP. Because, I mean, you look at his stats, he's number one in almost everything, quarterback related.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of touchdowns, in terms of passing yards, like rushing yards, his QB rating, like everything almost across the board, Lamar Jackson is leading. And generally speaking, if you're the best quarterback statistically with some wins, historically, you probably are going to win the MVP.
Look at this run last night. Wasn't this incredible?
Unreal, man. Unreal.
But doesn't Josh Allen have the sex appeal? Like, Lamar got his MVP. Isn't he already a multiple MVP winner?
He has two already.
Like,
yeah, and Allen hasn't won any.
You know how the publicity and the voter, like, I think Josh Allen is the sexier kind of new thing where they want to see it happen. I don't know. I'm going to deny it because I think Allen is going to push the envelope.
Yeah, I'm with you, dog. I think Allen right now is the favorite for a reason. Because there's always that MVP fatigue, right? When you've won it before, it gets harder and harder to win it again. But you watched last night, man. Like, that offense is historically great.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it? They're on pace to average 7+ yards per play, which would be an NFL record. Like, if they had any kind of defense,
yeah,
they'd be blowing teams away.
Yes,
and I know Derrick Henry's got a lot to say about why that offense is so effective because he is just.
But he benefits from Lamar being there too,
and they're an incredible tandem. But Lamar is a little more important than Derrick Henry. There's no doubt about it.
Yes. I think narrative going against him, though, is what is going to hurt because there's also something that everyone in the NFL loves doing right now. It's a national pastime. Dumping on the Giants by pumping the tires of Saquon Barkley. That's a narrative pump.
That's true.
And it's tough to win if you're a running back, but if he rushes for 2,000 yards, puts up 1 million touchdowns, he turns that team around. The Eagles maybe fight for that top seed with the Lions, which they are right now.
And all the New York writers vote for Saquon to stick it to the Giants.
Exactly.
Best Chuck, you know better than anybody. You need the right people to say that guy's your MVP this year. You need a big, massive, heavy hitter in the industry to say it's over. He just won the MVP. Like the year Embiid won the MVP. Embiid won an MVP recently, did he not?
A couple years ago. Yeah.
Like it was like there was one game where the coaching staff and every reporter in the NBA said it's over. The MVP race is over, and
it was over.
You know what? It was over.
That happened to Lamar last year. Like week 15 or 16, he had an unreal
the
game.
Same
it's
headlines.
Like, it's over now.
It's over.
And it was. And I think that could happen if Barkley or Allen do it. I think what is challenging for Lamar is I think he's got to be consistently great all through the year.
He's got to be undeniable.
He's got to be undeniable through every single game he plays.
Well, Jokic is going through the same thing. Like he's the best player in the NBA right now, but only LeBron is won 4 out of 5 or whatever it is. So it's hard to do.
And after they got pumped by the Knicks last night, that doesn't help either. All right, Mike Johnson in 20 minutes. Confirm or deny will continue throughout the afternoon. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app. Mike Johnson coming up in 15 minutes. Overdrive continues, brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. He's been seeing this Bryson DeChambeau bit he's been doing daily at his house, trying to hit a hole-in-one over his house.
Well, dude, do you not notice that every day is the same sky? He's doing 24 different days in the same day, which is fine.
Probably.
Changes the shorts and the hat. Because he's not going to just go out there he's probably taped every, do you know what I'm talking about? He's done 50 days in one day.
Probably true. Now, I think he lives in Texas. The weather, I don't know if it's great all the time, but I have anxiety watching this because I would skull one right through the living room within 5 balls.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a fully glass house, and this guy's hitting little wedges, and everything looks like it's inside 5 feet of the green he has built behind him.
He had one the other day that went in and out. It went in the hole and out.
It's like I got to give him credit, man, because he has really taken on social media and trying to be creative and go viral, and it's all because of his ability to do it because of Live Golf. Like, people don't want to hear this. They love the PGA Tour. But the Tour, I don't know if he would be able to do what he's doing. I don't know if they would allow him that freedom.
He was doing all that YouTube stuff when he was on tour.
Was it this expansive and this big?
Maybe not this much. You're right.
I mean, now he's
probably
doing
not this much.
break
But
50
the U.S.
with somebody.
Open changed everything for
Yes.
some reason, where he just became the hero as opposed to everybody hating it. You remember not long ago, people were yelling and they were calling him Brooksy. You're a loser, Brooksy.
Yeah, that's right.
And all of a sudden, he signed some autographs at the U.S. Open and got them yucking it up, and they were cheering for his big drives, and all of a sudden he became a YouTube sensation.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I guess you're right. He was doing it before, and maybe it's more that his image has changed since he left for Live, which he's the only guy I can think of where it's become a positive.
Yeah.
Really. Like,
I think you're right, though. Like, a lot of these guys that went to Live, they all basically said it out loud, which fans don't really want to hear, which was, I want to play less golf. Like, I don't even.
I know, Fast Chuck, but there are some guys that have literally disappeared and fallen. Like, have you ever heard Bubba Watson's name?
No.
Like there's guys, camps, like you never hear of guys, and they're not in the spotlight, and you never watch them on the weekends. That's the crappy part about that.
And it was almost like, I don't even like this job. Like, I'm happy to get paid for it, but I don't really like it anymore. At least DeChambeau is showing he loves the game, man. Like, he loves fooling around with the game.
That's probably exactly it. He's using Live as, I have to go there and play and perform and make guaranteed money, but I'm really going to try to drive something different on social media and YouTube and Instagram and TikTok or whatever. And this is what a lot of people know him as, like the crazy YouTube guy, the guy who's trying to break 50 with a partner, and he's trying to hit hole-in-ones over his glass house. Like, it's different stuff that isn't stuffy and serious. And listen, the PGA Tour is still the best. Like, this weekend was a really cool finish. Maverick McNeely finally won on tour. It was awesome. It was an amateur that had the lead on 18. Mm-hmm. Like, there's really cool stuff going on tour. And the Hero's coming up. Tiger's not going to play in it. No one's surprised by that. But anyway, hour 2 coming up. Mike Johnson will join us. Al's brother with another clue for the week for a Leaf ticket giveaway. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.